Rabbi Berel Lazar, the chief rabbi of Russia, he shared the following story, unbelievable story. There was a man who was doing business. Rebbe Zalman. No, wait, for a few minutes. Yeah. I'll help you. Thank you. The man was doing business, and he was talking to what kind of business he does. And the guy says, "I can't tell you what kind of business I do. I can't tell you." It's an interesting response, especially if from Russian, who knows what, right? So he's like, "Listen, you could tell me. I won't tell anybody. Just between me and you. I'm just curious. Like, what do you do?" So he says, "I can't tell you. And not only can I not tell you, but every so often in my line of work, everyone in our company has to go through a lie detector test. We call it a holographic test. So make sure that no one said what we do here. Because once you say what you do here, you're out of the company. You go through a lie detector test to ascertain that you don't tell anybody. Here, on this chair. Show me that one. Oh, you have it. So if you do a lie detector test to make sure that you don't tell anybody what we're doing here. That's how secret it is. And so when you tell someone. So he said, actually, interesting thing. Recently, I did the lie detector test, and they asked me what my name was. I said, my name is Mikhail. Mikhail, all of a sudden, the lights went off. Red. Lie. So they asked him again, what's your name? He said, Mikhail. Again. Lie. All the lights are red. Asked him a third time. Again, he says, Mikhail. He shows his license. He shows his passport. That's my name. And then he realized what happened. Between the last test and this test, he had gotten a circumcision, and the Jewish name he was given was Moshe. So then they asked him again, "What's your name?" He said, "Moshe." All of a sudden, is all green. 100% true. This is the truth. So you think about it. Like, here's this guy. He knows legally his name is Mikhail on his passport, on his license, everything, and yet the moment he has a circumcision, the moment he becomes Jewish, all of a sudden, it's a whole different thing. This is very connected to tonight. The yard said that Maharash, who taught the world says if you can't go under, there's an obstacle. The world says if you can't go under the obstacle, can't avoid the obstacle, then go over the obstacle. The Rebbe Maharash said go straight over. What does that mean? I think one meaning of this is, the world says you have an obstacle. So use your mind, use nature, use your means, use your tools to go to get through the obstacle. Use your tools that you have at your disposal. If you can't use the tools at your disposal, they're not working, then you have to go to God. Then you have to go beyond nature. The Rebbe Maharash is go straight over. There is no obstacle. There's nothing that's standing in your way. Nothing that's holding you back. You went to Yom Kippur by Nila, you know? Unbelievable story.
I want to be here.
Well, now you're here. We're catching up. Actually, the Rebbe said tonight you can accomplish more than Yom Kippur. On the night of Rebbe Mahash's Hilula, Rebbe, in Kapara, I don't know exactly back to words, but I remember it was more than Yom Kippur. The Simcha tonight and the connection tonight, it adds to, because it continues, follows from Yom Kippur, it must add something to Yom Kippur, because in Judaism everything is in descent. So tonight we're reaching to somewhere that's beyond Yom Kippur. So the story I shared was about the origin of this non-Jewish song called The Sound of Silence. There was the Jewish composer, his name was Art Garfunkel. Art Garfunkel had a friend in college, his name was Sandy. And they did business, they were roommates in college, they were very good friends, and they made a pact with each other to always be there for each other. That's the pact they made to each other. But Sandy got glaucoma, and he became blind. So he had to leave Columbia University, to leave college and go back home to Buffalo. He can't graduate college if he's blind. How he's going to go to classes? It wasn't like it is today. So Art shows up at his house, and he says to him, "Listen, we promised to take care of each other. I meant it. I want you to come back to college. I'll take you to every class. You're going to graduate. There's going to work. Come back with me." So he comes back with him to Columbia University, and sure enough, he helps him. He takes him to every class. He helps him with his homework. And despite the fact that he was blind, he was successful in his studies. Art, in order to empathize with his friend, he called himself Darkness. Because his friend is blind, he said, "I'm Darkness." So that was his nickname. Hi, Darkness is here. How are you, Sandy? Darkness is here. He called himself Darkness. So one day, Art and Sandy are in Grand Central Station, and Art leaves Sandy suddenly. And Sandy's like, "What are we doing now?" Art said, "I gotta go, sorry." Imagine you're Grand Central Station. You've been to Grand Central Station? It's thousands of people. It's a Rosh Hashanah D'Oraisa. There's thousands and thousands of people who go through there every single day. And he's there, and he's blind, and his friends always take care of him. He's not there. So he fell, he hurt his shin, and he got up, and eventually he made it back somehow to his stop on 160th Street, back to Columbia University. He gets out of the subway, he bumps into someone, and he hears Art's voice. Art, he realized Art never left him. Although Art said he has to go, he was always there watching him. He just pretended that he left him. He didn't really leave him. So that's where the song begins, "Hello darkness, my old friend." There's no real, I'm not really absconding, I'm not really leaving you. And it has a very profound message, I think, about what today is about. It says in Tanya, the greatest joy Hashem has is, anyone know? What's the greatest joy it says in Tanya Hashem has? Chapter 33. The greatest joy it says in chapter 33 in Tanya. No? The greatest joy Hashem has is from when you create light out of darkness. Oh, David, come here. Where are you going? The greatest joy Hashem has is when we create light out of darkness. And how do you create light out of darkness? With your emunah in Hashem, belief in Hashem. I'll show you front row seat.
Oh my God.
With your belief in Hashem in a place of darkness, that's how you create light out of darkness.
That's right.
So like my friend over here is the Rebbe's emissary in South Central Los Angeles, Baruch Hashem. It's the greatest joy Hashem has when you create light out of darkness. And so when you're in a situation where it's dark and it's confusing, and you realize like you're not alone, and you realize why it's happening and who is making it happen, that does something. That's what the Maharash I think means, to go beyond, to go straight over, and to realize that you're not really in the dark, you're not really alone. This is very relevant to where we're heading tonight. We're heading tonight in 24 hours. We're going to celebrate Zman Simcha Sein, the time of our joy. Time when God rejoices in us, we rejoice in Hashem. The theme is joy, and joy is not just the theme of the holiday. Joy is a very important thing in Judaism. And it's a key thing. The question is, how do you get to joy? A lot of people today are looking for joy, they're not finding it, or they're finding something external, and they're not getting it. And the Torah says that all of God's blessings come through joy. The Torah says that if you can pronounce that, you're going to lose your passport. So be careful. Rabbi Pshish said that if you do a mitzvah with joy, the light of the mitzvah that you do with joy stays in you forever. That's why in the blessing before Shema we say, Hashem help us keep the Torah mitzvahs. Ulakayim, lishmar, v'lasei ulakayim. What's lishmar, v'lasei ulakayim? Lishmar means help us Hashem, we should not transgress your word. Lasei help us do what you want. Ulakayim, and to fulfill. What's fulfill mean more than do? Do and fulfill. What's fulfill have to do? So chassidus say means to do with joy. Do with joy, then it's lakayim, it stays with you forever. The light of the mitzvah stays with you forever. The question is, how do you get there? There's a guy who came to the Bezalel Rebbe. He's very sad. He's back in Europe. He's very sad. He says, Bezalel Rebbe, what do I do? I'm so depressed, I'm so sad. Bezalel Rebbe says, listen, outside of this city of Belz, there's a circus. In this circus, there's a clown. This clown is an expert in tricks and jokes. Hang out with this clown a little bit. So the guy says to the Bezalel Rebbe, I'm the clown. So a lot of times people they sing and they dance and whatever, but it's not really there. The question is, how do we get to this simcha? How do we get there? So before we get to the answer, let's at least externally let's go for some simcha. Let's sing a Geschmack and Niggin, because the Tzemach Tzedek says if you think happy thoughts or say happy words and do happy things, it brings you there. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'veracha. L'chaim.
Sure.
Chaim David, should be Emerson Hans Placeno. Chaim V'racha. Oy ay let it ay ay let it ay 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 let it ay hey let it ay ay na let it ay ay na let it ay ay la la ya la 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 let it ay ay la 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 hey let it ay ay na Weisse Zelle. Weisse? Gelle.
Please.
There's a bit of a paradox in this holiday. Judaism is comfortable with paradox, but here's the paradox. Why do we celebrate Sukkot now? What's the simple reason? As Rabbi Cashapp was saying before, Rabbi Cashapp was saying that really it would make sense to celebrate Sukkot in the time that we left Egypt, in the time of the month of Nisan, because we left Egypt in the month of Nisan. As soon as we left Egypt, we need to protect ourselves. We need to be protected from this hot desert sun, from the snakes, from the scorpions. So immediately God sent the clouds of glory to protect us. So it makes sense right after Passover or during Passover, we should have Sukkot to commemorate the clouds of glory. Why do we celebrate Sukkot now? So one of the famous answers given by the tour is as follows. If we would celebrate Sukkot in the summertime, then people wouldn't know why we're doing it. People would say, you know why you're doing it? Because it's just more comfortable. It's more comfortable. It's more leisurely. It's more. You want to go out of your house and get some air, so you go into the sukkah. It wouldn't be noticeable you're doing it for the sake of Hashem. It wouldn't be noticeable that it's really connected to the time of our joy, the time of Hashem's joy. It just doesn't work out. But now if you do it, it could tell it's because it's the holiday of joy. That's why you're going out in the sukkah. Okay, all right. But think about that. Let's put that aside for a second. Now, let's talk about the actual mitzvah. The actual mitzvah is you're going out of your house, you're going out of your comfortable living room, dining room, into Los Angeles. Baruch Hashem is pretty good, but Montreal is not as easy. New York is not as easy. Massachusetts is not as easy, and it's raining, and it's cold, and you have to put on your coat, not just your jacket, not just your sweater. It could be a storm. Rabbi Cantor was talking about his first sukkah in Thailand. It's monsoon. Imagine monsoon on sukkah. He's going to sukkah on a monsoon. So, and now here's this. Technically, we'll see why Chassidim do things differently later, but technically, if you're annoyed by being in the sukkah, you're exempt. If the sukkah is too hard for you, it's painful, you don't like it, it's too cold for you, you're exempt. You're only obligated to go there. Why? When you're enjoying it. 1 second. So we just said a second ago, why are we celebrating the holiday now when it's cold? We're celebrating now when it's cold, because now is a time when you can tell it's the time of our joy. 1 second. But if you're not enjoying it, you don't have to go in the sukkah. We're going in the sukkah in the time when it's raining, the time when it's cold, in order to have this time of our joy that you can tell it's Hashem's joy, it's the time of Hashem's special time. 1 second. You're not supposed to go in the sukkah, you don't need to go in the sukkah, if you're not enjoying it. So is it supposed to be, wouldn't it make more sense to have the time of our joy in a time where it's more comfortable? And if you're telling me that I'm supposed to be annoyed by it, okay, I'm supposed to be annoyed by it. But the one thing we know about sukkah is opposed to every other mitzvah, you're not in the mood of it, do it anyways. Mitzvah of sukkah, if you're annoyed by it, you're exempt. And yet we're telling you, no, do this in the winter. Why in the winter? In the winter is a time when you shouldn't do it, because in the winter it's annoying. What's going on? So the answer is we have a mistake about the meaning of the word joy. There are two words. There's the word joy, and there's the word pleasure, or the word passion, the word enjoyment and happiness. Let's say that. There's the word enjoyment and the word happiness. Where does enjoyment start from? Enjoyment starts from a lack. You're missing something, and you want to satisfy what you're missing, and therefore you enjoy. It's not happiness. It can never be happiness. If it's something that's just satisfying what you're missing, so then you get what you're missing, and then you're done. And now you're missing something else. And in today's society, there's a constant flow of advertisements to us from the best minds in the industry, trying to get us to feel we're missing something, And this thing that we're going to get, this car we're going to get, this jacket we're going to get, this house we're going to get, this is going to satisfy us. This is what's going to make us happy. But it can't make you happy. It's external. It just can make you enjoy, can make you have pleasure. But enjoyment is to answer a lack. It's not happiness. What is joy? Joy is something inside. Joy is something that you are happy. Joy is something that... So they do amazing things. They take Coca-Cola, and they take the best athletes and the best actors, and they put them next drinking the Coca-Cola, and what happens? What's the spell? I mean, we're so primitive. You know this actor, you know that this guy... Wade Boggs is as far as the guy I picked right now. You know, Wade Boggs is a great third baseman for the Red Sox. All right, there we go. Art Garfunkel, thank you. And you want to have some of his mazel, some of his success, some of his light. You want to be like Jordan. So you know what you're going to do? Somehow, subconsciously, I'm going to go for Coca-Cola. Coke is it. Because look at Jordan. Jordan has Coke. You know, Jordan has the sneakers. I'm going to have Jordan sneakers. I'm going to have LeBron sneakers. Then I'm going to have some of that. Now, it doesn't make any sense. We're intellectual people, and yet that's the spell that all of this advertisement does to us. So we shouldn't fall for it. First of all, because we shouldn't waste our money, but also because it doesn't really help us. It doesn't help us because it's not going to make us happy. You're going to get, one thing and you want something else. It can't make you happy because it's something you're getting. Once you get it, so now you're looking for something else. It's created this whole idea of satisfying yourself with something that you're missing is what the market is based on.
Keep on chasing something you can never catch.
If you're looking for happiness by enjoying something, you're never going to catch it, because enjoying and happiness are not the same thing. Happiness is inside. Happiness is that you're happy, that you have an Hashem, you're part of Hashem.
Not because there's a void.
Not because of void. Something inside of you. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. We're going to say, "L'chaim." We're going to get there. I'll sing another Cashapp and Nigin. Let's go there. Maharash again. Ma 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 you know. Ma 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 yo ya ma you know. Did-da ma ma. Can I bring you something that you see here?
Oh no.
Okay, catch you up. Chaim Racha. This shir tonight is dedicated to Rabbi Soul's father, Rabbi Moshe ben Avram. Chaim the Sham Shav Aliyah. With the better for you and for your family, Zichla Yisrael, and for all the things you're doing. That's Lachar Muflaga. Chaim Racha. Tzemach Tzedek once said, the difference between children and adults is this. paraphrasing a bit, this is the way I heard it. Children are, when they get in a fight, they right away right away they're friends with each other. They're fighting, you pull them apart, all of a sudden they're friends with each other. Adults, it's not like, oh, they have fist fights. It's worse than that. Adults have politics. There's something deeper. It's something subtle. Adults, why? Tzemach Tzedek said this. Children would rather be happy than be right. And adults would rather be right than be happy. So it's children know something about happiness that us as adults, we get confused. There's a Hebrew word. Here the Yiddish, L'chaim, from Simcha the Yego L'chaim. You can pass the two Yiddish L'chaim. Rebbe is a L'chaim over here. Pass no cups. All right. Let me start off with this. There was a woman, she lost a very, very precious ring. A ring that belonged to her grandmother. And she couldn't contain herself. She was so upset. And someone went over to her, she saw how distraught she was, and he said to her, listen, I just want to ask you two questions. I'm going to ask you two questions. I'm going to ask you the first question. I don't want you to answer the question. I just want you to think about the answer and have the answer inside you. And then I'm going to ask you the second question. And if you have an answer to say, you could share it, but I want you just to think about and have the answer yourself. So he asked the first question. She agrees. He asked her the first question. What's the first question? First question is, one day you knew you're going to let go of this ring. Whether after 120 years, Cashapp, he passed away, you knew that you're going to let go of the ring. That wouldn't make it easier. Let go of the ring. Would you let go of the ring? Eat more. The first question is, are you at peace with letting go of that ring one day? Are you okay with letting go of that ring? One day you know you're going to let go of the ring. It's the fact that you know you're going to let go of it that one day, and you know that's destined to happen. Are you able to accept that? It's for sure going to happen. One day the ring is going to you're going to let go of that ring. Are you okay to accept that? Okay, she's quiet. She doesn't say anything. Then the second question was, are you really less because you lost the ring? There's something less about you because you lost the ring. That was her second question. So she said, the first question didn't really help her. Because the first question, she was thinking, no, she's going to lose the ring. This is her. She couldn't really discern between her ego, her experience, and the facts. She couldn't discern between what she was feeling and what actually happened. She was overwhelmed. Her mind was saying, no, this is my ring. I lost my ring. But then she thought of the second question. She stopped using her mind only to answer the question. She started looking deeper into herself. Am I really about the ring? And when she stopped using just her mind, started looking at herself deeper, then she was able to let go and be at peace with the fact that she lost the ring. She realized that the ring wasn't it. Similar way, the Hebrew word for evil is klippah. Klippah literally means a shell. We often, we have two souls. We have our godly soul, we have our animal soul. And even our animal soul, even our godly soul, there's the essence of the godly soul, and then there's things that come into our mind. It's an amazing thing, if you could do this, not so easy, but if you try, you could probably do this, to suddenly look at your thoughts as a bystander. Things come into your head, right? They come into your head. You're able to detach yourself from what's going on, and look at the thoughts and the words and the things that are happening to you, not fighting them, but realizing that that's not you. Or there's something in you that's not just your thoughts, not just your words. There's something in you that's deeper. What is that deeper thing? Says the Alter Rebbe in Tanya, the real you is your neshama. In order to get to happiness, you have to win the klippah. The klippah means the shell. Let me say what the shell means. The ego, the animal soul, is the shell. Why am I calling it a shell? What does the ego say? Ego say be the smartest. Doesn't say be smart. It says be the smartest. Doesn't say be beautiful. It says be more beautiful. Doesn't say, it says be better. In other words, it's not a really, its whole identity is connected to the outside. It's measured by others. It's not intrinsically a thing. Just like we were saying before about pleasure versus happiness. Pleasure is about satisfying a want, a need. It's not inside you. So to klippa, evil is a covering of the reality. The reality of yourself is what is your neshama. The reality of yourself is your godly soul. The reality of yourself is you're a part of Hashem. You have a mission in this world to do, and only you could do your mission. And Hashem is with you, and you have something to do. That's your reality. The animal soul and your godly soul aren't at peace with each other. In order to be happy, you have to get to your godly soul. In order to get to your godly soul, you have to stop. It looks like everything's peaceful on the outside, but really there's a constant war being fought between your animal soul and your godly soul. In order to be happy, you have to get rid of the layer, you have to pierce beneath it, you have to connect to your neshama. You have to overcome the animal, you have to stop, and you have to focus on what you really care about. And when you do, that's happiness. So it's not about what you get and what's given to you. The real happiness is the contrary. It's when you move aside all those things that you're this constant attachment to get more and more things, and you move away from that, and you connect with who you really are. So when you peel away the layer of the animal soul, which means that you resist all those desires, let me get this, let me get that. I'm not saying there aren't beautiful things in the world, aren't pleasurable things in the world, but it's a question about if you're identifying yourself because you have the car, if you're identifying yourself because people are looking for identity. And how I'm going to define my identity? I'm going to get a nicer suit, I'm going to get a nicer car, I'm going to get a nicer house, I'm going to have nicer accessories, and then I'll be... So it's not that you're not able to honor the things Hashem has given you, because instead of honoring things Hashem has given you and using them for their purpose, you're trying to become what the clothing is, and you can't, because the clothing isn't really you. The ego isn't you. The ego is an illusion. The ego says, just give me this and I'll be okay. But the ego it's not real. So what does Hashem tell us in the holiday of Sukkot? Leave your house, leave your comfort, not just physically leave your house. Leave all the things which you think are making you, and leave that behind, because that's not you. Go to this temporary dwelling, go outside, go to a place which is uncomfortable, and go be in Hashem's place. Be in God's place. Leave your place and go to Hashem's place, and that's your real place. That's your real reality. All those things around you aren't real. I'll tell you two stories. Enough time for two? Okay, I'll do one. There was a Jew who was he was at a friend of mine. He asked everyone in his community to share their best sukkah experience, their best sukkahs. So one guy says he was in Hungary during World War II, and the Nazis were looking for the Jews, and somehow his family managed to escape each time. They were able to stay in their house somehow, and the holiday of Sukkot was coming, and there's no chance of making a sukkah. Yeah. Nazis are in Hungary. There's no chance of making a sukkah, but they had in their house. They had this kitchen on the side of their house, and the father says we're gonna make a hole in the roof, and the mother's like, well, how are we gonna cover it? It's not important. They made a hole in their kitchen roof. They put some schach there, and that had a sukkah, and that sukkah stayed. Sukkah stayed after sukkahs for days and for weeks and for months. That was a sukkah, and this man shared how being in that sukkah, not just on sukkahs, but being open to the air and the sky, and being in Hashem's place, really made him understand a lot more about what happiness is, about who he is. That's what the Tzemach Tzedek means when it says in order for a sukkah to be kosher, you have to see the stars. Chassidus explains that the stars actually come from a higher place physically than the sun, so that they represent also spiritually something higher than the regular norm, than nature. It's something higher. What connects us to what's higher? We go out of everything. Go out of all the things we're used to. When we leave aside all those things we think that build us, we leave that. That's actually how we get in touch with our real simcha. That's what it's about. So Are we less? Are we losing? Not losing. Contrary. We're becoming who we are. The real simcha is that you identify that you're neshama, you're part of Hashem, that Hashem is with you, and there's a mission for you. That's what simcha. It's not about what you're getting. It has nothing to do with it. What you're getting doesn't build or take away the simcha. The simcha is that you're connected, and there's a purpose, and you have a mission, and Hashem cares about you. That's what it is. And all these things that we indulge in, that's enjoyment. But it's not simcha. Simcha is something else. Okay, one more story. Let you go. There was a Rebbe Premishlan. He was very poor, and this one man went to help him out. I told you the story. Man went to help him out. Rebbe Premishlan. He says, "Rebbe, I want to help you out." Rebbe says, "I don't need your help. I have 2 cows." In Hebrew, the word for cows, in Yiddish, the word for cows is key. I have 2 keys. So he's like, "How could he be so poor with 2 cows?" But he's poor. I know what to do. I'll go to his wife. I'll buy milk. I'll buy cheese from the cows that produce milk and cheese. He goes to the mayor's wife. "Can I buy some milk and cheese?" She says, "We don't have milk or cheese." "Where's all the milk from your cows?" "You don't have any cows." "You have 2," where your husband said. "No, I don't have 2. I don't have 1. So then he went back to the mayor. "Mayor, you said you have 2 cows. Your wife said you don't have any cows." The mayor says, "It's not we have 2 cows. You have 2 keys. We say in Hodu, Ki vo yismach libenu, ki b'shem kodesh v'tachnu. In you our hearts rejoice.
Wow.
In you we trust. That's why I don't need any help. That's why I'm okay." So this is the real simcha of the holiday of Sukkot. It's called the time of our joy when Hashem rejoices with us and we rejoice with Hashem. We should be emes with this kind of joy, you can overcome your obstacles. You realize who's going with you, who's holding your hand. Huh? No, give us a nigga from Simcha Diego. You're a nigga from Diego? A nigga from Central?
I can have both.
Okay.
Life is good.
Pass the Yidla Chaim. Ay 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 dera may dera mama yarada mama mama dera may dera mama mama may dera may dera mama yarada mama mama dera mama marada mama ah hey ay 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 yarada mama. So, share about your father, Yisrael.
I have a lot of things I could share about my father.
I'll put you on the spot.
The main nekuda of my father was the lulav, Tamil Chacham. Terasei Minasai. He lived Torah. Wherever he went, everybody remembers him holding a sefer before going to work, after going to work, at home. Any spare moment, he would sit and learn with us or by himself. And whenever any sefer that he decided to learn, he would make sure to finish. And you could see that he breathed and lived Torah. It was his life. To the point, I remember learning in chassidus, in the Maimarim of the Frierdiker Rebbe, that very special souls, very special neshamas. How do you know if Torah is a munasa? How do you know if Torah really is one with you? So I think the Frierdiker Rebbe quotes that someone who is studying Torah and he comes to a question and he doesn't understand a certain idea, if it bothers him so much, at nighttime he gets an answer. So when he wakes up in the morning from Milmaila,
he's told the answer.
So when he wakes up, my father had it all the time.
You serious?
And I thought it was normal until I learned in the night. Sometimes
your father told you I have a question, I found the answer in my dream?
All the time. It was like a normal thing. We knew this all the time, and when I learned, I'm like, oh.
Wow.
Also, he would call Rabbi Kaplan, the Rosh Yeshiva in Montreal. Whenever he had a question, he would call me late at night, midnight. He goes, I can't go to sleep. This I heard firsthand from Rabbi Kaplan. So Terasei Minasai, Torah was real to him. He understood Torah. He once told me he was busy learning Gemara, and he told me he was learning, I think, Gemara Sechtas Avodah Zarah, and he told me that he had a question about in the Gemara. Again, I'm not sure exactly how it's a question, but it's speaking about the second temple, the second Bais Hamikdash, and there it's speaking about the Kruvim. I think this is a question that my father asked: how is it possible when in the second Bais Hamikdash there was no Kruvim?
No.
So he actually went to the biggest rabbis of Montreal, including Rabbi Hirschsprung, and he told me that they did not know the answer. So, if anybody knows the answer. In the same token, he also was a Baal Chesed. There's many stories, many people that he affected, many people in a positive way. He was a teacher for children, a teacher for adults. He taught everyone. And even though he was a master teacher, he also made sure to do acts of goodness and kindness. I remember once a person from Israel knocking in the house, and he brought him in, he fed him, and then he went to the bank to take out money to provide him properly. So we have to have both meaning of lulav, of torah and mitzvahs, but obviously the core is the study of torah. L'chaim, l'chaim, we shall all take achlatis. His name is Rabbi Michael ben Abraham. Michael ben Simcha.
I'll tell you one teaching the Rebbe Maharash. Unbelievable. Rabbi Kunin is going to put on for us a video of the Rebbe. We're going to watch a Farbrengen of the Rebbe. So I want to show one thing about the Farbrengen. It says in the Gemara, everything is in the hands of Hashem. Everything is in God's hands except for one thing. What's on God's hands? How much reverence you have for Hashem, how much you care about Hashem. That's up to you. The Rebbe Maharash said, everything is in the hands of Hashem. Some things Hashem says yes to, something Hashem doesn't respond to you overtly and obviously. There's one thing you cannot say no to. There's one thing that melts his heart. If you ask for it, you can't say no. He has to give in. If you ask Hashem, help me with your Shemayim, help me with connecting to you, so then Hashem has no choice. He has to help. So L'chaim, still L'chaim, you should help us. We should celebrate the holiday of Sukkot we were meant to. Let's offer Ham Flogo, L'chaim, Mashiach now, L'chaim.
Are they shline up from him too?
Huh?
When I fail, are they shline up from him too? When I fail, I don't succeed. I fail.
You know what the plan was, right? He said, "Don't eat from the tree." What was the plan? Tell me what the plan was.
Plan was always to eat.
The plan was always to eat from the tree. He created the world on Plan B. All of us were created on Plan B too. All of us are Plan B. That was the plan. Plan is Plan B. Hashem made the world on Plan B because He wanted something greater to come out of it. I'm not making it up. I'm telling you the short version because we want to watch the Rabbi and Spiritual.
Throughout history was always Plan B.